I'd like to talk about being the boss, and while it sounds great and I do enjoy being the boss, there's definitely some challenges that come with this, and basically I'm responsible for figuring out the tasks for everyone, figuring out the priorities, and making sure we're progressing on all the fronts we need to be progressing on. And so this can actually be very challenging because you have to make some very important decisions relating to scheduling, and I talked about scheduling in a previous developer diary and how challenging it is, and it's very challenging when you have to make those tough choices. So, like right now, I'm faced with some challenging choices where I'm basically the decision I have to make is, do we work on things for the trailer, which is important for establishing sort of the feel for the game. I've talked about with Neverending Nightmares how once we made the trailer, it really sold us, or at least sold me on the game. I was very scared before we had the trailer that the game wasn't going to turn out, but the trailer sort of convinced me. So, I mean, having the trailer and having it be creepy is definitely helpful to me, but the downside of it is, working on the trailer is taking away time from working on the vertical slice, and having a really good vertical slice is even more important than the trailer because it shows, like, hey, we can actually deliver on the cool ideas in the trailer, and also, we can give it to YouTubers, we can give it to, Kickstarter, we can give it to publishers, we can give it to whomever we like, and basically, they can see what we're thinking, what we're making, and then it's also very helpful to us because we can see where the shortcomings are, and I did a paper design where I have the map and figured out what goes where, and then once we've had as the level has progressed, I've realized some shortcomings to the original design, things that can be improved, and if I hadn't been able to play the level and say, hey, maybe this feels a little slow, let's ramp it up here, then it would be impossible to improve it because you just wouldn't know how it was. So that can be very challenging, but also, that sort of ties into task prioritization. You have a team of people, and they can be working on anything at any point in time, and it's tough to say what the best thing for them to be working on is. Basically, I spend a fair amount of time. We use Jira for task and bug management, and we just use the Atlassian cloud hosting or whatever. It's like $10 a month or something, and so I spend a fair amount of time, going through the issues, reprioritizing them. One would think that the priority when you create it, but over time the priorities change based on if we're focusing more on the demo or the trailer or on a specific area, because sometimes oftentimes there's a lot of interdependencies. Is the animator waiting on a particular asset? Does Joe need Adam to draw something? And I think that's that those interdependencies are one of the things you need to look out for the most when scheduling a project. Because I like to try and schedule things that Joe needs. I try and get the Adam and Chris to create those as soon as that makes sense, so that when Joe is ready to start on the asset, he's never waiting. And of course, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And, Joe has a ton of work to do all the time, so I can always find something for him. But basically, it's sort of like spinning plates. You gotta, spin this one over here and spin this one to make sure everyone's doing the thing that's best at any point in time. And then if something's going slowly, you have to figure out why it's going slowly. And sometimes it's tough. A lot of times it's easier to just put your head in the sand and just wait for, the bug notifications to come in and see when people finish. But I think if you do that, things can get behind, and it's really challenging. And I think, one of the things Joe suggested, I don't remember if it was on this project or towards the end of last, but we do weekly meetings because we all work remotely, and I think the weekly meetings have been really helpful, even though we spend a fair amount of time just joking around and, socially catching up. I think, it's good to know what everyone's working on, see them, over Skype, face to face. It's amazing, even though it's obviously not the same as seeing someone face to face with their little video window. I think it does help, and I'm thankful to Joe for that, because to me, I was thinking like, that's so much time, right? Like, everyone in the meeting, times how long the meeting takes, that's your man hours. And so, like, I'm always sort of hesitant, or I was hesitant to, get everyone in the room together, because, I've been in positions at previous companies where they just do, like, crazy meetings where everyone has to, like, there's, like, 30 people in a room, and having a meeting, unless it's just one person talking to everyone else, but having a meeting, getting 30 people's input, something like that doesn't really work well in my experience. It's better to try and, split that up and just talk to, the different people at different times, or, figure out, how you can trickle up information. Obviously, we don't have that problem in with such a small team, but it's definitely something I am concerned about. But I think that was a really good idea of Joe's to spend the time, because it's like sometimes there's developments going on, and I don't really update people on them as much as I should. So having a bunch of people on Skype and saying okay, this is where we're at with this aspect is helpful, I think. Let's see, I had some notes, so let me just cheat for a sec. So basically, the other thing I wanted to talk about is another good trick with being the boss, and this sort of ties into what I'm talking about, is talking about in a previous developer diary about I'm drawing a blank. What it was about scheduling. I guess that one was about scheduling, and being the boss has a lot to do with scheduling. So it's definitely an important subject, and something I do a lot. But anyway, I think sometimes it's good to approach something where you try and get everything 75% there, and then move on. And again, this sort of ties back to something I was saying, where the first 90% can take 90% of the time, the remaining 90% of the time again. So if you get things mostly there, then you can get things to a quality where you can evaluate everything as on the whole. Basically evaluate the whole thing. And so, one asset might stick out when you're looking at just that asset, and you're like, oh man, that art, just isn't quite the way I want it to be, or, the gameplay's not right there. But then you look at things as a whole, and you're like, okay, well that's not very important, and something more important is not really working, and then to focus on the thing that's the bigger picture thing. And so I think, trying to get every element perfect and then try and put it all together is not the best idea. And also, another thing is I try and get everything in game as fast as possible. If someone has an asset, an animation, and a piece of art, whatever it is, I want to get it in game so we can see it in the context of the game, because it's often you can create the most beautiful animation or artwork, and then you put it in game and then it just doesn't work for whatever reason. Maybe it's our dynamic shading, maybe it's the way the gameplay is working. So I think also trying to design your scheduling, your management around getting things in game as soon as possible, I think is really helpful. So anyway, that's a bunch of random advice on being the boss and how to juggle all the plates. So thanks for watching.